Kylian!
It's over!
He's done it again! Unbelievable!
Oh, straight into the roof of the net.
Nice one.
Straight down the middle. So a good performance from both teams here today.
Hi, you're watching Firstpost. I'm Rupha Ramani. Let's get started. On the show today, the T20 World Cup is almost upon us. We will start our build-up to the teams and the event soon enough. But today we look at the Indian squad that has hit the ground running and compare this one to the 2007 T20 World Cup winning Indian squad. How different were the two sides? And is this the right squad to win India back that trophy after 17 long years? Speaking of pressure, one very young 25-year-old is facing all the heat. Kylian Mbappe has broken his silence on the matter that is raging on for weeks now. Says no one should go through what I am. He's learning early on in his career that a clutch game, how to tackle pressure off the field, is equally crucial. I'll tell you more on the show and more from football world, and this about Samuel Eto'o. He was a legendary footballer, yes, the pride of Africa, but is his alleged mismanagement resulting in Cameroon's downfall as a footballing country? But first up, the headlines from around the world in Sports 360. Starting with cricket, New York is beefing up security measures for the upcoming T20 World Cup around the India versus Pakistan clash after receiving threats of an attack. The mega face-off is scheduled for the 9th of June at the Eisenhower Park Stadium in New York. Police officials in the city have been asked to increase the surveillance and screening process for the tournament. Over in football and the MLS, Lionel Messi's Inter Miami lost 1-3 to Atlanta United. Sabalob Giantsi scored a brace for United to take a 2-0 lead. Messi reduced the deficit for Miami with his lone goal in the 62nd minute. But it went in vain after Jamal Tare scored the winner for Atlanta United. Olympiacos created history at the UEFA Conference League final. The Greek club beat Fiorentina 1-0 to clinch the title. After the game went goalless in regulation time, Ayoub El Kaabi scored the winner for Olympiacos in the 119th minute. Despite being the most successful Greek club with 47 league titles, Olympiacos hadn't won any European title. This is their first. Over in tennis and the French Open, world number 2 Yannick Sinner of Italy advanced to the third round, securing a 6-4, 6-2, 6-4 win over Richard Gasquet. And in the women's category, world number 1 Iga Swiatek is through to the third round too. She battled past Osaka 7-6, 1-6, 7-5 in a grueling second round match that lasted nearly 3 hours. And in chess, Indian prodigy R. Pragyananda defeated world number 1 Magnus Carlsen in classical chess for the first time. The 18-year-old Indian was playing with white pieces. He's taken a solo lead with 5.5 points after the third round of the Norway chess tournament. Carlsen has slipped to 5th. Over in the women's category, Pragyananda's sister Vaishali defeated compatriot Koneru Hampi to top the leaderboard. Remember that picture? It was a seminal moment in the history of Indian cricket and world cricket too. It was historic because it was the inaugural edition of the T20 World Cup, the newest, youngest format of the sport, a revolutionary World Cup. And historic because it saw India become champions, the first T20 World Cup champions. As India gears up for yet another World Cup in the Americas, you can't help but draw comparisons between that 2007 squad and this one this year. Where does this squad rank in comparison to that Indian setup? Why this comparison though, you may ask? Because India has not won the T20 World Cup since a very young and daring MS Dhoni led a ragtag bunch to beat the world. So I think that is very, very good reason enough to make this comparison. The one biggest differentiator right away is the lack of T20 international experience. That is obvious because the format was relatively new back then. 2007 was a unique squad. There were 6 debutants, and they're coming up right behind me, of course. Few of them already well established in international cricket back then, like Yuvraj Singh and Gautam Gambhir. The others were pretty much newbies. Yusuf Pathan, retired now. RP Singh also retired. Joginder Sharma, we don't know what happened to him post that World Cup, but he'll always be remembered as the bowler who won us that World Cup, especially in the last over. And of course, coming back to the last, it is none other than Rohit Sharma. A debutant back then, 20 years old, and now he's the captain of this side. I'll come back to this thought in just a bit to wrap up the comparison. This current 2024 T20 World Cup squad has 0 T20 debutants. That's the beauty of this. So what can we infer from it all? The biggest point here for me is that the one who made his T20 debut back then is captaining the Indian side today. Now, there are two ways of looking at this. One, you got the most experienced player to lead your side. Two, you've got the oldest player to lead your side. Not any side, a T20 side, a format that is a monster version of the sport. If cricket was on steroids, it would be T20. Fast, action-packed, manic, and absolutely crazy, which brings me to the next parameter of comparison, the average age of both these squads. The average age of the 2007 World Cup squad was 23. The youngest was Piyush Chawla. He didn't get a game though, he was 18 back then. Almost everyone in their early 20s, led by a captain who was 26 years old. The average age of the 2024 Indian World Cup squad is 30. Led by a captain who's 37 years old. Now, here's what happened back then. There was a determined thought to only put forth a squad of youngsters. MS Dhoni was clear and adamant on this stance, and the board backed him. He was the captain, he wanted a young team, and so there was no Sachin Tendulkar, no Rahul Dravid, and no Sourav Ganguly. The seniors were pushed to the side, and yes, they didn't like it. They couldn't help it though. They were scorned. It was a radical thought, especially back then, to push out legendary players like the ones I've mentioned. The captain, MS Dhoni, wanted to be, we'll call it brave, and the board completely backed him. And of course, all of that flowed into water under the bridge, with the Indian team going on to lift the trophy. So everything forgotten, this team clearly was picked to win. Cut to the squad in present, and it's such an ironical twist in this entire story. One of those seniors who was rested is the coach now, and the board has decided to go by experience rather than young blood. Is this a right call to make? Now look, experience counts anywhere. It prepares you to take pressure, so I get the logic on that ground. But it's T20 cricket, and a format that is completely different from what it started out being. Players these days have reimagined and redesigned the way sport is played. There is no impact player rule that can give you fresh legs in an innings or the luxury of an extra batter or an extra bowler to fall back on. It's just these 11 through the game, and they better be on the ball every single delivery. Just because the Chennai franchise at the Indian Premier League were able to turn the tag of Daddy's Army on its head doesn't mean every squad anywhere can do the same and replicate that magic. Age is a factor in any sport, and more so in cricket's T20 format. So horses for courses, you'd say. And even though Australia are fighting India to gain that old man's army tag, even after the squad was announced, they have roped in a young fiery batter in Jake Fraser-McGurk after his solid IPL performances. But Australia still has a legacy and a system of senior hands always being given the nod ahead. And they have World Cup titles to back this vision. It's tried and tested. Not India. They're yet to win an ICC title since MS Dhoni's treble that ended with the Champions Trophy in 2013. So, has this been an emotional or a more emotional selection process than a logical one? There is no denying that some of the seniors are legendary performers, but I somehow want to ask, how calculated was this decision? And will that pay off in giving India an ICC T20 World Cup after 7 unsuccessful attempts across 17 years? What were we like when we were 25? Starry-eyed, with big dreams, probably just started working, and yet very, very confused about the choices we were making or the choices we already made. At the perfect age where we were old enough to do everything, yet young enough not to have the responsibility tag attached. Not just yet. Commitment phobic, footloose, and fancy. Compare that to another 25-year-old who is under the pump for making that commitment. He's arguably the best in his profession, was just recognized with an award as the best in the world. a country and its president fighting over him, and at the other corner, a man who holds the key to this 25-year-old's dreams. It's not easy being Kylian Mbappe. Just looking at his list of achievements, it's easy to forget sometimes that he is just all of 25. He's achieved more than most players only dream of. At 19, Mbappe won the World Cup with France, won the FIFA World Cup Golden Boot in 2022, has won 6 league titles with PSG, and has scored the most goals for his club. His speed, his skill, and sheer determination make him one of the most sought-after talents in the world. On the pitch, Mbappe is a force to reckon with, but off the pitch, he finds himself in the murky waters of club politics, in the middle of tussles between powerhouses. And he seems to be learning on the job. His latest comment, proof of that, and I'll show you what he said in just a bit. But first, let me give you the context. For a boy whose simple dream was to play for Real Madrid, the path to getting there hasn't been easy. And he's yet to sign the contract, by the way, another polite reminder. Every step towards that has had its fair share of consequences. Every decision or word he's uttered has been a loaded gun. Last week would have been extremely tense, with the president of France, Emmanuel Macron, and the president of Real Madrid, Florentino Perez, meeting. There's only one thing that's common between the two, and that's Kylian Mbappe. Macron wants Mbappe to play the Olympics, and Madrid want to hear none of it. If you thought this was all that Mbappe was balancing on his plate, football, Madrid, Macron, there is also PSG. Ever since Mbappe announced he was leaving PSG, his relationship with the management has been strained. PSG president Nasser Al-Khelaifi getting spiteful by the day, and I'll break that down for you. Basically, he's blaming Mbappe for putting his career above the interests of the club. Surely smells of burnt ties, but a flame that only Nasser Al-Khelaifi is responsible for. Because here's what Mbappe said while collecting the award for Best Footballer at the Global Soccer Awards a night ago.
It's always an honor for me to be here with you guys. Another trophy, individual this time. It's always a pleasure. I want to say thank you to my club. I think my president is here. Thank you for everything. This amazing club, the best in France, one of the best in the world. Big honor to play for this club. Amazing season. We won many trophies.
Got to applaud him for that. If anyone was setting an example of diplomacy and tact in the face of tense negotiations, it has to be Mbappe, who's very sweetly thanked his president, who's been seething. Got to hand it to Mbappe. Full marks for saying the right things while he sits on the cusp of the biggest football transfer in recent years. Because Mbappe is learning the art of appeasement. He's been here at crossroads of loyalty versus passion and has chosen loyalty time and again. Take 2021 and 2022, for example, where he stayed back despite having an offer from Real Madrid. Many questioned him back then. Was it for money? Critics wondered. Mbappe stayed silent all the while, but just when he's finally chosen ambition over his loyalty towards PSG, he's finally broken his silence on the matter.
It was more than just staying at PSG. It was the World Cup in Qatar. It was many things around these things. It was a big decision, difficult decision, but I don't regret anything. I just want to remember the best things. It was not an easy situation, and I wish nobody to live that.
Now, here's the thing. The 2022 World Cup was held in Qatar, and the PSG side is owned by Qatar Sports Investments. Mbappe didn't want to hurt the Qatari owners by making a move to Real Madrid right then. The two World Cup finalists, in fact, Argentina's Lionel Messi and France's Kylian Mbappe, were both, in fact, part of PSG at that point. It was a very diplomatic move, and it was critical to keep the peace. You surely don't want to upset the organizers, especially when a World Cup is at stake. The clutch player that he is, Mbappe realizes that success on the pitch is but half the battle. In order to thrive in the world of football, he must sharpen his diplomatic prowess and learn to play the balancing act. Because Mbappe is not out of the woods, not yet. If it was the World Cup in 2022, it is the Olympics in 2024. And Macron has not hidden his desire to get Mbappe to play at any cost. He wanted him to stay at PSG, and having to relinquish that, Macron wants him at least at the Olympics. And Mbappe is doing all he can to keep Macron and PSG happy about him finally moving away.
I had the chance and the great honor to be a member of the biggest French club which allowed me to arrive here. And I never thought it would be this difficult to announce that. To leave my country, France, the Ligue 1, a championship I have always known. PSG is a club that never leaves anyone indifferent. We can love it or hate it. I made the choice of loving it. I do not regret at any moment signing with this prestigious club. It's a club that I will keep in my memory my entire life.
The young 25-year-old Mbappe carefully choosing his words, and he's learned from past instances of footballers facing the consequences, even the legendary ones. Cristiano Ronaldo forced himself out of Manchester United when he called out the club's mismanagement for their poor show. And we all know the love affair Cristiano Ronaldo and Manchester United shared. He's their prodigal son. An experienced campaigner like Ronaldo making things sour with his club, something the world hasn't quite forgotten. Clearly, Mbappe is doing what he can to make sure history doesn't repeat. But at 25, I bet it's a lot to deal with. And how prepared or practiced can anyone ever be, even with years of diplomacy? It's human emotions at the end of the day, one that a young Kylian Mbappe will have to continue to navigate and negotiate, because this saga is far from over. The latest controversy that we are highlighting today is coming out of Cameroon. In fact, this is the latest in a series of disruptions that threaten to derail Cameroon as a footballing country. After allegations of mismanagement on Cameroon football president Samuel Eto'o, you remember the legendary footballer, he's in the thick of it yet again. The latest episode involves the sacking of coach Marc Brys. Brys never had the chance to prove himself as a coach. He was sacked even before managing a single game. It happened after a video of the fight between him and Samuel Eto'o went viral. He had only been in charge for over a month. With the World Cup qualifiers around the corner, how hard will this latest episode hit Cameroon? And is the slump in their football fortunes all linked to Samuel Eto'o?
Samuel Eto'o, a name synonymous with Cameroonian football glory. He's the pride of Africa, the legendary footballer who turned into Cameroon's football president. He knows what representing your country at a World Cup truly means. And he's caught in an ugly spat that threatens to derail Cameroon's World Cup campaign. Brys' sacking just before the World Cup qualifiers has shaken up Cameroon. Brys was appointed just last month by Cameroon's sports ministry. He comes with an impressive 26 years of managerial experience. That includes more than 10 teams he's managed, in Dutch leagues as well as Saudi. Seems all is okay. But here's the thing. Seems like he wasn't the candidate Samuel Eto'o was looking for. Cameroon Football and Eto'o said the decision to appoint Brys was taken unilaterally, and Samuel Eto'o himself wasn't present during the coach's appointment. It is reported that Eto'o had a list of candidates for the role, and none of them was Brys. This resulted in a bit of a showdown between Eto'o and Brys. Both were seen involved in a heated discussion. And once the video of the two arguing went viral, an emergency meeting was called and Brys was promptly sacked. The federation scrambled to salvage the situation, which means another coach has been called up on an interim basis. But the bigger question is, can he steady the ship amidst the storm that's raging? Brys may not have been the desired candidate Eto'o was looking for, but sacking without even giving a chance was quite an extreme step. The federation says Brys had made some stinging comments and so he had to go. But is that the whole picture? Cameroon Football claims that Brys' appointment came from the sports ministry without any input being taken from the federation. So clearly, the matter isn't just about the heated exchange. There are several egos involved. And ever since Eto'o took charge as president, he has been at the heart of many controversies. Here's what he has been in the middle of. In January this year, Eto'o was accused of match fixing. And that's not it, also inciting violence and making threats. The former vice president of Cameroon Football sent a report to FIFA's ethics committee accusing Samuel Eto'o of several acts of misdemeanor, including abusing his powers. The vice president accused Eto'o of rigging a match between his own academy and Kumba City FC. FIFA is still investigating the allegations, but the accusations are quite strong. What the vice president is hinting at is mismanagement and Samuel Eto'o wanting full autonomy by getting a coach who would be his man. So maybe Brys wasn't one of those. With the 2026 World Cup qualifiers on the horizon, the timing could not be worse. Cameroon will be hosting the second-placed Cape Verde on the 8th of June. Cameroon, despite leading their group, now face uncertainty and unrest in their ranks. The interim coach is expected to announce the squad for the game next week, and these are tense times. Any unrest in management only trickles down to the players, and it's not a situation conducive to play football in. Because the pressure is on. If Cameroon do not finish at the top of the table, they will have to play in the qualifiers. And after qualifying for the tournament in the previous edition, not matching that performance would be a setback. Cameroon's slump in the football stage has ironically coincided with Samuel Eto'o's reign at the helm. Take AFCON for instance, a tournament that Cameroon have been 5 times champions of, winning the last one in 2017 before Eto'o took charge. They've had a poor run there ever since. Since 2021 when he came on board, Cameroon have never won the AFCON. And last year, they had a horror show where they were knocked out of the tournament in round of 16 itself. Eto'o himself knows what representing Cameroon in a World Cup means. He is their highest scorer and the best the country has ever produced. But will the allegations and the latest controversy tarnish his legacy and pull a footballing country like Cameroon down?
Time for Last Serve. Today we take you to Barcelona. It's summertime and sailing season is high. We give you a sneak peek of France's Orient Express racing team's new boat. This ahead of the world's oldest championship, America's Cup, a sailing event starting off the shores of Barcelona. Watch the excited crew unveil their new vessel. That wraps it up here on Firstpost. Thanks for joining in. I'll see you again tomorrow. Till then, take care.